Hey there, students. I'm sorry I'm not in school right now, and it's a little frustrating. I feel just fine, although after many respiratory illnesses in the last few years, it sounds like my doctor considers me to be at risk of having a poor outcome if I was to contract this coronavirus. So, anyways, here we are, and I'm going to try to figure out how to have chemistry happen here so you can learn what you need to know. And I'm going to start out with a video about balancing chemical reactions. And so let's get going. Okay. I've got two reactions that I'll show you right now, and so one method to balance these chemical equations. And then what we can do is you can do the same method, or there are many other ways to sort of figure this same thing out. With the goal being is that we figure out there needs to be a balance of elements on one side of the reaction with the other side, the reactants and the products. So our first example here is carbon monoxide, which is a gas, plus hydrogen gas, yields as a product octane, this stuff you would find in gasoline, plus water. And so the way that I learned how to do this years ago was to put a line down the center of the equation, and then list the elements in the following order, starting out with metals, and then non-metals, and then finally oxygen and hydrogen. And so I'm going to do that for this problem. And so there is no metals, but there is a carbon and oxygen and hydrogen. And the same should be on the other side, carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. And then we start out by saying, well, how many of each is there on each side? And in carbon monoxide, there's one carbon. And in oxygen, there's also just equals to 1. And then for hydrogen, there are 2 of those in hydrogen gas. And so on the other side of the equation, we have 8 carbons. It looks like we have, from what I can see here, we have 18 hydrogens in the octane plus 2 hydrogens in the water is equal to 20 total hydrogens. And we have 1 oxygen. Okay, so we'll start out with the carbons. And in order to balance the carbons, to be at the top here, in order to balance the carbons, I need to do something to the reactant side. And so I'm going to, instead of having just 1 carbon monoxide, we're going to now have 8 carbon monoxide. So I'm going to put 8 here. And so that means I have no longer do I have 1 carbon, I have 8 carbons. No longer do I have 1 oxygen, but now I have 8 oxygens. Okay, and so the hydrogen stays the same on both sides, and so now I have balanced the carbons, but I now need to move to the oxygens, and it looks like on the left side, the reactant side, I have 8 oxygens, and on the product side I have a total of 1 oxygen. So that means I need to fix that. And so I'm going to go over here to the water, and I'm going to give myself 8 waters. That in order to give myself 8 oxygens, I need to make 8 waters. So now I have 8 oxygens. And how many hydrogens do I have there? It looks like I have a total of 16 in the water and 18 in the octane. When I add 16 plus 18, it looks like I add up to 34. Okay, great. So I'm good with the carbons, I'm good with the oxygens, but I am nowhere near good with hydrogens. So I now need to, in order to balance that equation, look at the reactant side of the problem again and go to the hydrogen. And you can see on the left side there, I've got 2 hydrogens and I need 34. So what do I need to do? I need to add 17 of those hydrogen molecules. And so now, since I have 17 times 2 is equal to 34. So at this point, I have balanced this reaction. So I'm hopeful that that helps you to do some of your own reaction balancing. And now let's just do another example. And so this is an example that has metals in it. And this is gold sulfate, or gold sulfide. And so let's do the same exact process here. And we'll start out by listing the metals. Gold, sulfur, and hydrogen. There are 3 elements here. And so gold, sulfur, and hydrogen. Okay, so on the reactant side, I have 2 golds, I have 3 sulfurs, and I have 2 hydrogens. On the product side, I have 1 gold, I have 1 sulfur, and I have 2 hydrogens. Okay, looks like I've got a little bit of work to do. So the first step here would be to balance the gold. And so balancing the gold means I need to come over here to the gold on the product side and change the amount of gold to 2 molecules. Okay. So now I have balanced my gold. Looks good to me. And then the next step is I need to balance the sulfur. I've got 3 on the left side and 1 on the right side. So to fix that, I'm going to, or to balance that, I'm going to take the 1 hydrogen sulfide and make it 3. So I have 3 hydrogen sulfides now, which gives me 3 sulfurs. Looks good, but that also changes the number of hydrogens to 6. Great. And so now I just need to finish by balancing my hydrogens. I look to the left side, I've got 2, and the right side I've got 6, and so that means I need 3 of these hydrogen molecules, which gives me 6. And at this point I have 2 completely balanced equations. So I'm hopeful that by watching me do these, it'll help you to be able to do these, especially on the worksheet that you got yesterday, and hopefully the new one today. I just want to say one last thing. I have been to my classroom, and I have really enjoyed looking at these crazy moles. This was the most amazing thing. Please write your name down so I can give you credit for your mole, and I'll be in there probably soon enough. Bye-bye.